So, have you ever stopped and wondered why you buy the things you do? We tell ourselves it's about the features, or the price, or maybe that one flashy commercial caught our eye. But what if that's not the real story? What if the actual reasons are kinda invisible? Powerful forces that are hardwired deep inside our brains. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the psychological triggers that make advertising really work. And we're doing it by tapping into the wisdom of two masters of the game.
Let's just kick things off with this quote from the Wizard of Ads himself, Roy H. Williams, because it basically flips everything we think we know upside down. Just let that sink in for a second. It's suggesting our actions create our feelings, not the other way around. What does that even mean for trying to persuade someone? Well, it means pretty much everything we've been taught might be completely backward, and that's the big puzzle we're going to solve together.
All right, so to figure out what actually works, we first have to tear down what doesn't. And according to Williams, the whole advertising industry basically worships these three sacred cows. These big ideas that are frankly leading a ton of businesses in the wrong direction. It's about time we put them out to pasture.
And you know, these myths are so tricky because they sound like common sense, right? First up, you've got demographic targeting. The idea that all you need to do is reach the right people. But that totally misses the boat on word of mouth. If you impress anybody deeply enough, they can become your biggest cheerleader. Then there are gross rating points. This is just math that leads advertisers to spread their message so thin that it never has a chance to stick in anyone's memory. And third, media mix. This is a huge, dangerous assumption that your customer is going to magically connect the dots between your scattered ads on TV, radio, and online. The result? A message that's just a jumbled, forgettable mess.
So this is the big pivot right here. This is the whole ballgame. The myth that the industry is built on is that it's all about finding and reaching the right people. But the reality, the actual secret sauce, is that it's about saying the right thing. And that changes everything.
Okay, so if it's not about demographics, then where are we supposed to aim our message? Well, the new target isn't somebody's wallet or their zip code. No, the real battleground for persuasion is the human mind itself. And this is where we step into what Williams calls perceptual reality. Now, this isn't just, someone's opinion. It's that huge, boundless universe inside our heads. It's where we can sail the seas with Captain Nemo, feel the excitement of a product we haven't even bought yet, and live out entire stories from start to finish. This is the landscape where real persuasion happens.
Which brings us to a pretty powerful conclusion. If the mind is the playground, then advertising isn't really about marketing, it's about psychology in action. It's not about spreadsheets and media buys, it's about understanding the deep-down core programming of what makes us human.
So, what are these psychological drivers? What's the code? Well, author Drew Eric Whitman breaks it all down to 8 primal desires he calls the Life Force 8. These are the deep, biological forces that are actually pulling our strings.
And look, these aren't just things we learn to want. These are desires that are hardwired directly into our DNA. We're talking about the fundamental drive for survival, for life extension, the desperate need for freedom from fear and pain, the search for sexual companionship, that deep urge to be superior, to win, to keep up with the Joneses, and of course the instinct to protect our loved ones and that craving for social approval. We can't escape these. They are the powerful, unstoppable currents of human motivation.
But you might be thinking, okay, sounds good, but does this stuff actually work? Oh yeah, the proof is absolutely stunning. Back in the 1920s, a mail-order bookseller named Haldeman Julius tested this exact idea. He just changed book titles to appeal to these primal desires. And the impact? It was insane. A book called Fleece of Gold became Quest for a Blonde Mistress, tapping into that desire for sexual companionship. Sales exploded by 900%. The Art of Controversy became How to Argue Logically, hitting that desire to be superior, and sales shot up 600%. The proof is in the numbers.
And it all comes down to this one single core principle, the Life Force 8. It targets our deepest emotions. And once that emotional hook is set, our logical brain kicks into overdrive and invents all the smart-sounding reasons why it was a great decision all along.
Okay, so we know what to target now, those primal desires. But how do you do it? How do you actually get through? The most powerful way isn't a list of features or benefits. No, it's a story that sticks.
Roy Williams tells the perfect story to illustrate this. Just picture it.
You're driving through Oklahoma, say, back in the 1970s, and you start seeing these weird hand-painted signs everywhere, propped up on crumpled car hoods against fences. They all say the same thing. Hamp Baker says, drive with care.
Exactly. That's what you'd be thinking. And for months, this turned into a huge statewide mystery. Everyone was asking the same exact question you're probably asking right now. Who in the world is Hamp Baker? And why does he care so much about how I drive?
And then, Election Day came. People go into the voting booth. And for a totally obscure office, Corporation Commissioner, they see a name on the ballot that feels familiar. Hamp Baker. They didn't know his policies, they didn't know his platform, but they knew his name. It just felt right. He won. By a landslide.
See, Hamp Baker didn't sell politics. He sold a feeling of familiarity, of care, all through a simple, repetitive story. It's a perfect example of what's called associative memory, and it just goes to prove that old saying, you win the heart, and the mind will always, always follow.
So this is where it all comes together. Truly effective persuasion isn't some external attack with facts and figures and data. It's an inside job. It's all about winning over the inner world of your customer.
Roy Williams calls the poet Emily Dickinson a wizard of words. And man, she just captured the entire essence of persuasion with this one line. Your job isn't to blast someone with information. It's to light that slow fuse inside their imagination.
And just how big is this inner world we're talking about? Think about it this way. We have about 100 million sensory receptors for experiencing the physical world around us. But for our imagination, for experiencing things that have never even happened, we have 10 trillion brain synapses. We are literally wired for story.
And that brings us right here to the final, most important question. Your customers have 10 trillion brain synapses just dedicated to living inside the world of what's possible. They are biologically built to hear and experience a story. So the only question that really, truly matters is this one. What story are you going to tell them?